So we are here to talk about prayer. And so I want to start with prayer. Funny thing about that. So I'm going to take a deep breath and invite everyone to realize the truth. And the truth is that all that is one beingness, unfolding in myriad, countless, beyond comprehension ways and forms. Mm. And that one, even though it is myriad forms, is also in and through and as each of us. And we are the unique aspects of that one for this place and time, this moment in this particular continuum of space and time, each of us. And we are the center of the space-time continuum, the universe of which we are part. So we, as this one, as this unique piece of the one, are the center of a beingness that is unfolding in beautiful, wonderful ways. Oh my goodness. And it is unfolding through the uniqueness of each of us, who and what we are right now. And so as we come into that awareness, we know the truth of our being, and that is this love, this life, this power, this presence is who we are, and that all the wisdom of all that is available to us here and now. And that whenever we come together, we can feel this and know this together and reinforce it in a wonderful synergy that brings forth more beautiful outcomes of well-being and wholeness, which is the truth of our being. And for this, I am deeply grateful. And in the tradition of science of mind, I recognize that it is so by saying, and so it is. Thank you very much. Good to see all of you that are here today. I can't see all of you at the same time, but I can see most of you. And if you raise your hand using the hand raise thing on the React, I'll be able to know whether you have something to say. So I'm sitting in the gathering room at Unity of Beaverton, and what is on your screen is a page from a little book that I published years ago, wrote and published years and years ago, called Uncommon Prayer. Because in the Anglican Episcopal tradition, they use the Book of Common Prayer. So this is uncommon prayer because it's recognizing that what we have thought was prayer is not what is. And so this is the very first page. It is, despite what most of us have been taught most of our lives, prayer is not our words, our actions, or even our thoughts. We use those to get to the state of prayer. Yes. So what we're going to do today is talk about why that is so. And then in weeks to come, we're going to talk about the different ways of getting into this. Prayer is not words. It is not actions. It's not whether you're feeling or thinking the right thing to bring about what you want. It is a state of being. We sense that as a feeling, right? When you're happy in that state of being called happy, we say, I feel happy, but you're in a state of being. You're in a state of consciousness that you are feeling in certain ways. It is actually an inner vibration, sensation, or beingness. Our thoughts and emotions are in alignment with spirit. Our inner conflicts are stilled, and we are simply being our essential selves. Those of you who sit with me on Thursday afternoons hopefully get to have that experience. All the laws that we've been taught don't hold because we are knowing the infinite. And what really is interesting, every single thought can be an expression of prayer. And the reason is when we long for something, whether we're saying anything about it or not, we are in a small way, praying, because that longing is in alignment with the nature of spirit to extend and expand and become more. So whatever we are longing for is spirit expressing in us and through us. The thing is, we tend to focus on specific things rather than on the qualities that spirit is expanding into. This is the most powerful state of being that a human can achieve. So, prayer changes things in us and around us because it is operating outside of what we call our normal reality. I'm going to give you that again. Prayer changes things in and around us because in that state, ourself, and you can put a capital S on that, is operating in what I call 5D. And a lot of people are talking now about how humanity is shifting into 5D out of 3D. All right, forget the text, just read the big words. You can read the text in the book. But in that state of being that I am calling the prayer state, that being which we are is operating across space and time outside of our normal space and time. So one way that I think about that, if you can see me at all, is if space and time is this flat plane, who I am can be all over that flat plane, right? Flat plane, I can touch any point in space and time. So space and time is 4D. I'm really 5D. Myself can go anywhere and pull together things from any point in that. And that is what we are doing in the prayer state. We are being that 5D self that can reach any combination of points in space and time and bring them together into a particular form in this moment. Yes, Claire.
You said 4D. So I thought we're operating in 3D. So what's the four? What's the fourth D?
Space and time.
Oh, okay.
The fourth dimension. So you're on a
Oh,
space-time continuum. And in
gotcha.
5D, I can go anywhere in space and time.
Okay.
Got it? So one of the,
How do you do that?
yeah, you get into that state of consciousness we call prayer.
Okay. Okay.
And
Sounds
over
good.
the next several weeks, starting April 10, we will look at 5, 6, 7 different teachers telling us what that process could be, can be, has been shown to be effective as. All right.
Can I ask a quick question real quick?
Yes, Sandra,
So-
I don't see your hand, but yeah.
I can't find the thing. Space and time. So fifth is anywhere and everywhere at the same time in 5D?
In 5D, it's all now. There is no past, present, future elsewhere.
But
It's
you
all
did
here,
this
it's
thing
all
with
now.
you did this thing with your hand
Right.
where you were
That's the plane of existence we'll call the space-time continuum.
okay.
Right? Because I am 5D, I'm not stuck in this plane in any way. I am actually outside of it. Myself, my true self, is actually containing this continuum.
So everywhere.
At anywhere, everywhere, at all times. Yes.
Thank you.
At any time, anywhere, at all times, always.
I had a little lightheadedness when you said that. I was like, what is happening? What?
Yes, because that's who you are. I love it. Okay, so the experiments that have been done around prayer have found you don't have to know anything about prayer. You don't have to know anything about any religious tradition. You don't have to care whether there is a God or not. All you have to do is be aware in a positive sense of a person. Okay, you think positively about a person. All you need is a first name. You don't need to know anything about them. You don't need to know their condition. You don't need to do anything about them. But if you think positive thoughts about a person, their body changes and their likelihood of healing is enhanced. And not only that, their speed of healing is enhanced simply by sending positive regard, regardless of anything else. This is what I mean by the power of this, because what we are being is that 5D self. When we're in positive regard, thinking about someone, our 5D self is connecting with them across space and time, and our intention of them being well, or of having them feeling good, or them getting better, or whatever version of that we have, becomes the quote prayer, which they then get to experience. And the how is really doesn't matter, right? So we're stepping outside of what is going on now, because we are everywhere all at once when we are in prayer. Okay, we'll talk about the quantum field, the field of infinite possibility, all of that stuff. This is our imagination and our intention that is allowing us to do that. Now, we'll talk about Emma and these other folks as we go through. I'm doing this just a brief summary so you get a sense. But in that state where you're feeling and knowing, you're feeling about reaching out beyond me toward them. That's all it is. I'm reaching out beyond me, beyond this point in space and time, toward them in a future state of well-being, right? That brings, right? That brings it all together in our 5-dimensional space. We're going into there. So how do we do it? A lot of us have been taught we can only say certain words, the Gayatri mantra, or the Our Father, or the Universal Declaration, or any number of things. And well, not so much. Except if we feel that they will. This is where our belief comes in. If I think that declaring the Lord's Prayer, which almost everyone in our culture is familiar with, will protect me, guess what? I will be protected by reciting that, right? We need to have words and rituals that help us step outside our norm in order to get into this space. And you use the rituals and words that you grew up with, or that someone has convinced you at many levels are powerful. Yes, Sonia.
Yeah, so I've heard this a couple of times now in the last few days, that sometimes that it can depend on whether that person wants to receive healing.
Yeah, ignore that.
Okay, thank you.
They
will.
they will take whatever you send them as well as they will, but physiologically, the change has happened. And that's been demonstrated over and over, like 2,000 double-blind experiments, okay? We know that the physiology shifts. If they emotionally or intellectually have a hard time with it, there's nothing you can do about that. And but you can continue to send them the positive regard. And what begins to happen is the brain begins to rewire. So one of the techniques that we'll talk about later is holding someone in the light, sending them love and holding them in delight. I've had many students do that very effectively. All right, so what we're doing is that shift from our ego-centered life to a union with that divine sense, that infinite sense in which the space-time continuum is just a small part of bubbles and bubbles of possibility. And we're going into union with that so that we're stepping outside of the norm. So here is a brief guideline of the basic prayer practice. And this is all we're going to do today. We'll talk about more. I may be able to expand this and make it larger for you today. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, look at that. I can fill the screen with it. How nice. All right. It really doesn't matter what your faith tradition is, what your background is. This is what is going to happen. You're going to set aside sacred. Sacred means set apart. That's all it means. Jesus, yeah, in the New Testament, most of the translations said Jesus said, go into your closet. What he's saying is go into that set apart space, right? Preferably at regular intervals and consistent times of the day. The reason for that is you're bringing the body, the brain-body system into a pattern of alignment. So some people love to do it first thing in the morning. Some people only do it, before and after a meal. Some people do it the last thing at night. Some people go for a walk after dinner, whatever it is, whatever works for you as a time. In many traditions, it's several times a day. The 5 times a day of the Muslims is also the 5 times a day of the ancient Hebrews, right? Several times a day. Then take a moment to consider, what is it? Why are you here now? Until you are clear about that. The clarity is huge. If I've got a mixed message, I'm not going to see the power happening. Clarity is huge. Then the third point is choose, okay, sacred time, first of all, now a sacred place, a place that allows you to focus on something. And that something can be a tree, okay? It can be water. It can be a bird at the bird feeder. It doesn't matter. An object, or you can focus on a book, or you can focus on a piece of music, a chant, the sound of the sitar or the sound of the crystal bowl, all right? Or you can focus on an activity. You can focus on a hummingbird. You can focus on a child. You can focus on the cat at play or the dogs sleeping, okay? Anything that draws your attention away from your normal thought process. So you're going to be in a place where you can focus. Okay, then you're going to use words. It doesn't matter what language, it doesn't matter what sound, it doesn't matter whether you're reading or chanting or singing or simply thinking, some combination of words that mean something for you that you felt. Emma uses this phrase, the thrill of cool fire. Some people say spirit sparkles. Some people say God bumps. When you encounter these words, or this tone, or this image, or you say this chant, or you repeat the Om for 5 minutes, or whatever it is, and you are feeling that sensation, then you've begun to get into that place. Then it says, continue to focus and repeat these words for 15 to 30 minutes, returning to them whenever you may be distracted, so that your normal sense of self dissolves into the process. It doesn't matter when or how that happens, and it doesn't matter whether you stay conscious or not. You have come into this place with clarity. You have focused on something that has pulled you out of your normal thinking. Your clarity is for a specific purpose, whatever that is, whether it's the well-being of someone out there, whether it's the well-being of something in here, whether it's the beauty and joy and peace on the planet. I don't care what it is, as long as you're clear, very clear about it, that it is not only something you intend, it's something you believe and know to be possible. All right. And then do a process like this. It doesn't matter what the language, the sound, anything is, as long as it vibrates in you and allows you to experience more than you have allowed yourself to experience in the past. And you end whenever it feels complete. And there is a sense of completion. It's like there's something that wraps up inside us when it's done. And it can be done for all kinds of things. What's coming into my awareness to share with you is a man in his 30s in San Francisco left his apartment one day, came home, and all of the electronics was gone. He called the police, and the police came and they told him, hey, we're never going to find this. We have no way of tracing this. There's nothing we can do about this. And he said, okay, but I filed the report like a good person. And then he sat down. He had been trained in Christian Science. So he used this method using the Christian Science process and got himself to that place where he knew two things. Nothing that belonged to him could be separated from him. And two, there is no such thing as a thief. He did that for quite a while. It was several hours. But then he felt the completion. He felt like, yes, that's true. It's done. I don't have to think about it anymore. Went to bed, got up the next morning, found a message. Message said, we found your equipment in a pawn shop, all of it. It was returned to him. A few days later, got a message. We found the guy who took your stuff, but we can't prove that he took your stuff. There is no thief. They couldn't prove that he was a thief. It was done. Okay. That's a very simple way that the prayer practice can work. It works outside of space and time. It works outside of anything other than we know. We know. All right. So as you go forward and you're thinking about setting up your place, the more beautiful that is, the more resonant with who you are and how you are, the more uplifting it feels, the more likely we are to experience the thrill and that deeper silence. So I don't generally recommend hip hop. But some people it seems to work for. So, you know, who and what. Okay. In general, the more senses you can bring to that process, you're feeling it, the body sensations, there's a little bit of a rhythm going, the sooner the thought process stops. All right. So all of the things we're going to do in the weeks that follow is going to be looking at these other methods, whether you're Christian or Buddhist or Christian Science or Science of Mind or Unity, or, you know, Emma's student or, you know, Troward's student, it doesn't matter. It's all going to lead to these kinds of things that will help us to have a deeper, clearer sense and alignment with the presence as it is. And then when one has been doing a daily practice enough to feel the shift, I'm going to pull that one up. There you go. To feel the shift out of normal thought on most days, that shift begins to happen during other times. So this is where those more or less unconscious thoughts begin to be prayer. Okay? So our goal is to initially find that state and be in it with clear intention. And then over time, be able to just know. I just know in any given time and place. All right, I'm going to stop sharing now so I can see all of you. How nice to see all of you. And this is really a very brief overview to begin to introduce what we're going to be doing. So on April 10, I'm going to introduce you to Phineas Parkhurst Quimby's process, his mental healing process. On April 17th, we'll look at Emma Curtis Hopkins. On April 24th, we'll look at Mary Baker Eddy. I want to give you Emma first, even though she studied with Mary, she actually took it deeper, so you can have both. And then we'll go on from there. You'll get Thomas Troward, you'll get Ernest Holmes, you'll get all these people and some people you've never heard of, but they have been very, very powerful in their healing practice and their prayer practice. So that's all I had to do tonight. Do you have questions that you want to address beyond? Sonia's hands up and then Sandra. Can I do Sonia first?
Sure.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that one thing that's really been helping me is the New Thought Media Networks twice a day prayer sessions, which have been like amazing to help me get into that routine.
Yeah, Michael is very, very happy because he's one of the producers of that.
I know.
Well done.
And
Thank you, Tanya.
where do you access that? I'm not familiar with it.
New Thought Media Network is newthoughtmedia.org. It's also on YouTube on the New Thought Media Network channel. And if you go to newthoughtmedia.org, you can get your calendar and get them when they're on the right time. Michael, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, real quickly. Oh, that just does me so good. Thank you, Sonia. So, yeah, and if you go tonight, you'll see a very familiar face we pray twice a day on the network, and it's 8:15 in the morning and 8:15 in the evening Mountain Time. So on my end of the coast here, it's I pray Eastern Standard Time, which is 10:15. So that's 7:15 on the West Coast. So and one more thing, if you go to the YouTube page, go to the YouTube page of New Thought Media Network, you'll find all the links there. New Thought Media Network YouTube. Thank you.
And if you subscribe, then you'll get notified when things happen. Sandra, you wanted to add to that?
Yes, I just want to clarify, when we meet, are we not meeting next week? Because you said April 10th.
Right. We are not meeting next week. I'm going to be in Arkansas. Who knows what you can do in Arkansas?
Ooh, you're going to get up to all kinds of trouble, I'm sure. That I will tell you, I'm subscribed. You can subscribe on YouTube. If you if you make an account, you can subscribe, and then there's a little bell shaped thing, and you can subscribe for notifications, and it'll notify you before the show is about to take place. And then they're always recorded, so you can go back and watch them archived.
Oh, cool. So
Love
it's
it.
happening live on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm going to open it up and show you.
Awesome.
All right. Linda
Great.
Jamila.
That's a great resource, Tanya. Thanks for sharing it.
Well, I noticed, I have your book, Uncommon Prayer, and
Yes,
I
you
was
do.
following your slides in the book. But I noticed the footnote, about rosaries and that, and, I didn't find it mentioned, but in Sufism and some of the others, we use a mala that has 108 beads on it. And we do the chant for that number of times.
Yep.
And as you get into the rhythm of advancing the beads, I've never been Catholic. I've never used a rosary, but I've got to believe there's a lot of similarity there.
Oh, yeah, it's the same process,
It gets,
adopted and adapted.
yeah, gets into that same realm, and so I just happened to notice the footnote on that page when you had the slide up.
Good for you. Yes, the mala, the rosary, all of those. The little bracelet is another mala.
Mhm.
A lot of Buddhists will wear that. And I know Claire makes them. I see hers in her shop at the Balch Hotel in Duffer.
And different mantras are said a different number of times, and so some of the malas have a different shape or textured bead at 11 and 54 and 27, and that helps in doing those too. So
These are the rituals that help us. So if you're feeling that thrill, and I've watched people go into it with the rosary, and I've watched people go into it with their prayer beads, whatever, and prayer beads is the official, overarching thing. Yes, Dave, good to see you.
Just to get my little plug in, rosaries and mala beads have 108 beads, right?
Yes.
Baseballs have 108 stitches, so happy opening day.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, you can do your baseball as a rosary or as a mala. Thank you, Dave. That's great. All right, and there are different numbers and different traditions, but what we're going for is where do I feel that alignment? What gives me that alignment? And so I will look forward to seeing you at 5:30 Pacific time, 8:30 East Coast time, in 2 weeks. All right. Blessings all. Have a good time. Thank you. Thank you. Think about this, apply it. I want your responses when I see you in 2 weeks. All right, dears? Bye.